Hold on, everyone. 1 second. Trying to get my phone balanced here. All right. So, 1 second. My name is Oshun the Great, and welcome to my beautiful channel. So today I kind of wanted to touch on how you can love yourself no matter what. And basically, this was inspired by me going through a very hard time lately with self-love, because I feel like I'm the type of person, whenever I'm alone and by myself, I'm very introverted. I can get very isolated and from the world. That is the easiest time where I can love myself unconditionally, because you're not like really in situations where you have conflict with someone else, or you don't have to worry about disagreements with other people, things like that. You don't have to really worry if you fuck up or anything. But learning to love yourself, a lot of it was just sticking to myself and learning to love all aspects of myself, even the bad parts. But I've been having a really hard time loving myself, because whenever I get into relationships, I always tend to become much harder on myself. Like whenever I have falling outs with people, or I feel like, oh, well, maybe I could have handled that situation better, or maybe I feel like I'm a little unconscious in a lot of areas in my life still. So I can get very hard on myself, and I can forget a lot about self-love that I learned by myself when I get involved with others. And there's a lot of factors that can come into play. Maybe other people do trigger you to come out of character, or maybe people don't really want you to love yourself. There's a lot of factors, or maybe you just, you never know the situation. But in order to love yourself, no matter what, is really, really, really about being carefree. Being carefree, that it's a lot. Okay, first you have to start by allowing yourself to be free. And what I mean by that is not policing yourself in everything on a daily basis that you do. Speaking your mind freely, not filtering yourself and your behaviors, in how you interact with others, expressing yourself, period. You have to allow yourself to be free to mess up. A lot of times in my life, I police myself to be perfect, so I would never live authentically. And therefore, I couldn't learn from my mistakes, because the part of life is making mistakes so that you can learn from them and that you can authentically grow into a better person. But if we spend our time trying to be perfect from the start, then we're acting from a standpoint of, oh, I have it all figured out. And if you act from that standpoint, you're kind of limiting yourself in a box, and you can't grow from that outlook. So the first step is allowing yourself to be free. But once you allow yourself to be free, you have to love your free self. So meaning a lot of your, okay, for example, I've only limited myself to my good side for a long time, my little shy girl acts, or people pleasing side. But the moment I have a very wild side to me, and that translates into sexuality, that translates into how I treat people. I'm very ruthless at times. Maybe I'm selfish too, but who knows? I have a lot of me that is very out there and wild. And for a long time, I caged that side of me, because I thought it was socially unacceptable. But that put so much strain on me for being who I really am, and getting what I really want out of life, because I was caring too much about what people think. But the moment that I just owned my sexuality, owned my voice, and just say whatever the fuck I want because I feel like my feelings are valid, things like that, that is the only time where you can start loving yourself unconditionally, is loving the good and bad aspects of yourself. And when you mess up, you love that too. So it's not saying that you mess up and you don't learn from your mistakes. You obviously want to strive to get better all the time, but you want to love yourself in your imperfection right now. So it's not like you're always waiting for this future self to, oh, I'll love myself when I get a better house or a better car or better this and that. You are perfect the way you are right now, because the situation you have been gifted or presented with is put in front of you to learn from. And maybe the situation doesn't pan out how you want it to at this time, but it's kind of like preparing you for something in the future, preparing you for something better, preparing you for a situation that, like, if this was to show up again, you know how to handle it better. Or you might be training to become this person that you're destined to be, kind of thing. And basically, you just have to be carefree and loving yourself and not caring what others think of you too, because people are going to always have something to say. And it takes a lot of courage to like yourself anyway. Like yourself, you can even say, like, look, I fucked up, but I still love myself. Like there's people who will not be in your team and they won't want you to love yourself because you did mess up. And some people don't want you to grow, and they want to keep you in this box of your mess ups, and they want to define you by your mistakes or your mess ups. And sometimes we do that to ourselves. But you have to allow yourself leg room to grow and expand and understand that I'm not my same mistakes I made a year ago, a few days ago, or even a second ago, because we all can gain knowledge to help us progress. The moment you gain consciousness of your mistakes or your lessons, then that is the first step to progression. So no one is ever cemented in their mistakes. And then the whole point is learning duality, understanding that life is good and bad. We are good and bad. I feel like there could be intent of where a soul is good, but ultimately we have both sides. People can be good and people can be bad at times. Like we all have, we're very multifaceted, and honestly, good and bad is a matter of perspective. So if we understand our lives like that, like only like human beings are very multifaceted, and we're not perfect, and that like good and bad ultimately doesn't exist. It's just life and lessons. So if we look at it from that perspective, it will be a lot more easier for us to have compassion for ourselves and others, and to love ourselves unconditionally. And honestly, at the phase I am now, is loving. It is like the society teaches us that self-love is this thing to be guilty over. And a lot of it is like, I have a lot of self-love for myself, but I don't love myself as much as I should, because people think it may not be humble enough, or maybe they deem it selfish. And I kind of fear loving all of me, because again, we've been taught to, like, especially depending on your culture and background, you've been taught like, oh, you're supposed to be put in your place or feel lesser than. So I'm at the standpoint of where it's like I have this little piece to go where I have to accept, and then I'll be fully complete. But it's just a struggle when you're always taught like self-love is this bad thing. And it's really about surrounding yourself with people who put self-love first too. Like if you're ever in a relationship or a situation where someone is trying to bring you down or maybe take away from your self-love, then maybe you need to reevaluate the situation. Maybe it's making you take a step back or holding you back from something. But yeah, it's just about being carefree, and ultimately it's about not giving a fuck. So you can't give a fuck what people think about you for loving yourself. Honestly, Kanye knows it better than anybody because he loves himself the most. And honestly, that's how you get what you want out of life, because when you love yourself, other people have no choice but to love you, or at least respect you, because you think so highly of yourself. And then in return, you start to carry yourself a different way. You start to dress better. You start to eat better, treat yourself better, take care of yourself, be mindful of yourself. And ultimately, it's nothing bad in loving yourself unconditionally, because that will reflect in your environment that you're in right now. Even like you won't settle for anything. You only would accept the best and nothing less. And it's like, and people will grow to respect you, and there will be haters, but then it's not your job to make sure that someone else is comfortable around you, or to dim your light for someone else to be comfortable, because they can shine just like you if they put in the work. So it's really up to you to put yourself first and understand that your happiness comes first, or whatever your goal is. Me, I wish to live a life of freedom, so that is for me to do the work every day to eradicate, like to get rid of these chains that society has put on me, whether it's racially, sexism, sexuality. So I do the work every day to free myself of these chains until I am free. And I share that with you guys so that whoever has that same desire can be free too. Now it's up to you to consider what is important in your life. For me, I know self-love is the basis for everything. And that should have been number one in our schools. But unfortunately, that is not taught to us. But since self-love is the base for everything, because it's what you accept, it's what you create. And until you do that, you cannot create the reality that you want. You can say, I want to be rich, but if you don't have self-love there, you can have drive and ambition can get you anywhere. It can get you $1 million. But the self-love is whether you feel worthy of it or not. You can lose that $1 million the same day you make it because you feel like you are unworthy of that $1 million, for example. But I truly believe manifestation, for example, if you manifest from self-love, you attract things instantaneously, effortlessly, that tend to help you out in your journey towards your goals. So it really does matter in that aspect of loving yourself. And you really just have to not give a fuck. And again, I feel like a lot of suicide rates in our country is because we care too much about what people think. And we feel like there's a certain way to live instead of pleasing ourselves. So we care too much about what people think. Ultimately, that creates this turmoil instead of either getting away from situations that no longer serve us, people who belittle us, all these things. So it's like really reevaluating your situation and yourself. Don't be afraid to do the work either. And don't be afraid to be with yourself, sit with yourself and say, okay, this is how I have to change. This is how I have to get better. This is what I need. Like every day when you wake up, think, what do I need? And work to that goal. But yeah, that's my little rant, you guys, about loving yourself no matter what. Do not let anyone tell you that you're lesser than or make you feel lesser than, or if someone throws shade to you, don't dodge that shit, because you're worthy no matter what you have. Because our life is constantly changing. Everything's temporary. And so you have to be the constant factor in this equation we call life. So you have to be the constant. So you have to make sure that you're solid in whatever way you can, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, all of that. You have to make sure you're good first and foremost. And then honestly, the world does revolve around you because it's your perspective that you're living from. And you get to shift that shit as much as you want. So don't believe anyone else. Believe yourself first. Intuition. But yeah, that being said, be dope, be you unapologetically. Peace.